My dear friends, as we celebrate this great feast today, the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary given to us by Mother Mary, and the word rosary, it comes from the Latin word rosarium, which means a rose garden or a garland of roses. That's the meaning of rosary. So each time you say the Hail Mary and Holy Mary, it is like a rose that you're offering to Mother Mary. My dear friends, that's a beautiful treasure that Mother Mary has given us. Mother Mary leads us to her son Jesus. Today I want to tell you the story of a gentleman who was a great devotee of Mother Mary. And he brought up his family with deep devotion to Mother Mary and of course deep faith in Jesus. Every day they used to pray the rosary at home, and his children also had that love for Mother Mary because their father was like that. And his children became big, he got them educated, he had them settled down, and he became a grandfather, but the love for Mother Mary was always there in his heart. And my dear friends, unfortunately this year in the month of May, he had a fall in his own house. He slipped and fell. And from that time onwards, he was finding it a little difficult to move around because he got a leg injury, and therefore his outward movements were a little limited. He was not going much outside the house. He used to be roaming inside the house, but going out was a challenge for him. And even while moving around in the house, he needed help. So his wife and his children, they used to help him. And he used to pray the rosary with a lot of love with his family. He continued that devotion. And my dear friends, in last month, that is in the month of September, we celebrated the feast of Mother Mary's nativity, and we know that soon after that the statues of Mother Mary are circulated. No, we take Saibin from house to house. So that day the statues of Mother Mary were taken out from the church in procession to be circulated to the houses. And this man, he remembered how he used to go to everybody's house for Saibin, for Our Lady, and he felt so bad that this time he could not go. But he was still with that devotion, though he could not visit people, he could not go to the people's houses for Our Lady. Soon their turn came, the turn for Mother Mary to come to his house. And he was so excited, he was so happy. I could not visit other people, but now Mother Mary is coming to my house. We are bringing the statue. So he was very excited. And they arranged the small altar in the house. They arranged the table for Mother Mary's statue. And when they brought the Saibin, his friends, his neighbors, and some few relatives also came. He was very happy to meet them. And he prayed to Mother Mary. He was so overjoyed. And after all the prayers were done, the people, they went back home. And this person, he requested his wife and his daughter to take him to the washroom. He went to the toilet, he went to the washroom, and after that he came, and as they were taking him back to the bedroom, he collapsed. He collapsed. And so they had to lift him up and they had to place him on his bed. And he, in a few moments, he breathed his last. He expired. The Mother Mary statue was still there in the house. And it was late at night. The next day, they wanted to have the funeral because Mother Mary's statue was still there. But since it was at such a short notice, the friends and family would not be present. They decided to keep it for one day more. And they wanted to keep Mother Mary's statue for another longer period because the statue was already there in their house. But since the days were already marked, they could not keep the statue in the house. And so the next day, they took the statue to the neighbor's house. My dear friends, when this family, they were narrating all this to me, I told them it was such a blessing that Mother Mary visited this person before he could breathe his last. He had been waiting for her and she blessed him with that visit. And this was something that was so beautiful. Padre Pio reminds us, the rosary is the weapon for our times. The rosary is the weapon for our times. It is such a beautiful treasure that we have. And in years past, we see even people who did not have education, people who were not literate, they could not read, they could not write. But with the prayer of the rosary, they kept their families together. And my dear friends, today as we celebrate the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, I was just thinking of telling you a little history about how this feast came. It was instituted by Pope Pius V in 1573. That is in the 16th century. But why was this feast instituted? That was the time of the Islamic invasion. You know, these Ottoman Turks, no? They were trying to attack Christian countries. Islamic invasion, it was going on. And they defeated many Christian countries and they were moving towards Europe. And all those countries who they defeated, the men were taken as slaves and they had to join in the army. So their army became huge. Thousands of soldiers they had in their army. And now they were moving towards Europe. And Europe, we know, the countries are very small. Individually, these countries would not be able to fight against these Ottoman Turks. So that time, Pope Pius V, he thought, how are these people going to manage? Let us make an army together. So what he did was, he contacted the queens and kings and emperors, and he asked them all to bring the soldiers of Europe all together, different countries in Europe, to bring them together so that they can fight against these Ottoman Turks. But despite of bringing all these people together, there was no way they would win the battle, because those Turks, their army was way bigger than that. They had thousands and thousands of soldiers with them. So now what did Pope Pius V do? He formed this army and he kept one person called John from Austria as the army general. But he did something very important. He contacted all the churches and monasteries and he told them to do two things: expose the Blessed Sacrament and pray the Rosary. So everywhere they were praying the Rosary, they were praying before the Blessed Sacrament so that Europe might become victorious against these Turks. They were praying. And Pope Pius V, he himself took a Eucharistic procession, a Marian procession in the whole of Vatican. So my dear friends, after having done all that, now as these Ottoman Turks, they came, we know it was a battle. They were coming by ships. They had a lot of military equipment and all that with them. And now the day that they are going for battle, what did he do? He brought all the soldiers together. He celebrated Mass for them, for the entire army. He gave them Holy Communion, and rosaries which were blessed by the Pope himself were put on every soldier. Rosaries were put on them and all of them were told to pray. The people were asked to pray while the soldiers went to fight against these Ottoman Turks. It looked very discouraging because when they went to sea, those days it was the sailboats, no? The sail ships. So the wind was favoring the Ottoman Turks, not these European soldiers. But then when they started praying, the Pope himself along with the bishops and cardinals, they were praying in the Vatican. So they went and they met at a place called Lepanto. That's where the battle happened. And that day, though the Ottoman Turks, they had a big army, they were defeated. They were defeated by this Holy League, by this Holy Army headed by John of Austria. And they were defeated. And over there in the Vatican, in the evening, Pope Pius, he opened the windows of the Vatican and he announced to the people, let us thank God, let us thank Mother Mary for this victory. But actually, how did he know? There was no way, because from there, how could they convey that they had won the battle? But Pope Pius V knew in advance that they would be victorious. So he made this announcement to the people, let us rejoice, let us celebrate. And then after that, the word came from the battlefield that they had won. And my dear friends, initially this was not the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, it was the feast of Our Lady of Victory. The Capuchin Fathers, we have got a church in parish in Revora. That Revora Parish Church is dedicated to Our Lady of the Victory. So originally it was Our Lady of the Victory and then it became Our Lady of the Rosary, because they believed that it was because of the power of the Rosary that they won that battle against the Ottoman Turks. My dear friends, the Holy Rosary is for us a ladder to heaven. Because when we pray the Rosary, you come closer to the Lord. That's why Our Lady of Fatima also, she said, pray the Rosary. So today in many families, this prayer has slackened. We need to pray the Rosary. It is very, very important. We should teach our children and young people also the importance of the Rosary. We venerate Saint Anthony every Tuesday. He was a great lover of Mother Mary. Following in his footsteps, let us love Mother Mary, because through her we come closer to Jesus, so that we may live our lives in a way that Mother Mary would like us to live as her true children and as followers of her Son Jesus and as devotees of Saint Anthony. Let us pray for this grace during this Holy Eucharist.